Hey everybody, it's Jonathan. Happy Coronavirus Wednesday. It is week one of this whole thing, and I don't know about you, but I got my toilet paper. I was lucky. I got toilet paper when I needed it, and made it through everybody panicking buying toilet paper. So it was kind of an interesting time, and I don't know where you are in the world, but be sure to post it down in the comments. Like, let me know where you're from. I would love it if you just share this with maybe friends as a watch party or something like that, because I wanted to kind of talk about something. As you guys know, I work with a lot of athletes. I work with a lot of families, and I believe that I believe that the lessons we learn as athletes are lessons that we can carry with us for the rest of our life. And so if it's done properly, and what happens though is a lot of people forget the lessons that they did learn from sports, and uncertainty is one of them. And so uncertainty is one that I find really interesting, and because a lot of my athletes are always looking for control. And I believe that we're all athletes in sports and life now. Whether you're competing or not really doesn't matter. But I do believe that to be successful in life, it's the same approach as we were as an athlete. So I'm working on a book right now called You've Got This, and it's, the subtitle is How to Overcome Any Challenge Using the Power of Games and Sport. And there's a lot of cool research to back up kind of my principle here, so I'm pretty excited about that. But today I just wanted to talk about how to deal with uncertainty, and this is we're in a really interesting time, right? And I think one of the things that you can one of the tips I'll share with you is a term called cognitive reappraisal. And so how you basically frame what it is you're looking at dictates a lot of how you're going to deal with it. And so that's one of the things that is going to really help people kind of with dealing with this uncertainty is how do you frame this, right? What are you waking up to every morning? Are you panicked or are you calm? And so I was going to try to show this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this very well here on Facebook, but there's this little graph here that I will try to hold up. Hopefully you can see it. I'll move my mic here so you guys can hear me. But the idea is that on a scale, if you draw a cross on a piece of paper, at the top you have panic, and at the bottom you have calm. And then on the left side you have unprepared, and on the right side you have prepared. Is that everybody's going to fall somewhere on that grid? Okay, so I wanted to just start by sharing that because it's kind of fun. But the first thing when we talk about cognitive reappraisal and basically how you look at this experience, if you are thinking that the world's going to end, that we're all going to die, that's going to lead to one way of thinking. But if you reframe it in a way where it's interesting, it's new, it's different, it's going to take a different way of thinking, that's a more positive spin, right? And when you're in a positive when you're in a positive spin, then it's going to put your brain in a different position to begin with. So Jorge says it was mirrored, so sorry about that. So for those of you guys who are listening, maybe on iTunes or on YouTube, if you take a piece of paper and you draw on that piece of paper, at the top you have panic, and at the bottom you have calm, and then across the middle you draw another line, and on the left side you have unprepared, and to the right side you have prepared. This is the overall scale that kind of we're operating in right now. And so one of the best ways to kind of get through uncertain times is you have two windows of opportunity to really retrain your brain. One is right before you go to bed at night, and one is when you wake up in the morning. And so when you go to sleep at night, you are looking to kind of your next day, and you can pick basically 3 or 4 ideas and visualize yourself doing those things, and they really come around this. They come around with how you want to be, right? Like, how do you want to be when you wake up tomorrow? Do you want to be in a panic? Do you want to be upset? Do you want to be short with your kids or your coworkers or things like that? Or do you want to be relaxed? Or do you want to be accepting? Do you want to be understanding? You can also visualize how you want to act, right? So right now, a lot of my families are home with their athletes, and their athletes are driving them crazy because normally these athletes would be at school. And what it really boils down to is the parents are off at work and now they're home and they may or may not be working. But then the kids are home and they're not working or doing much schoolwork. And people are freaking out about that. And so one of the things you can do when you go to bed is to just kind of visualize how you want to act the next day, how you want to be conscious about like what it is you're doing and what it is you're not doing. And then the third thing you can kind of really focus on is how do you want to feel? Because you're not going to feel better until you can kind of envision yourself feeling better about the situation that you're in. Because again, if you just wake up and you're in this massive panic about what's going on and that there's no toilet paper at the grocery store, then you are going to wake up like that and it's going to affect your entire day. So the best thing you can do is to start out with some sort of an intention, being intentional about how you want your day to go, right? Because we don't really know how long this is going to last. And that's obviously uncertain. And so this could last a week, it could last a month, it could last 6 months, who knows? For all my athletes they've gotten their sports seasons canceled or postponed or just basically the rug pulled out from them, it's weird. So are you going to be like that, panic the whole time? We're going to settle into some sort of new normal here shortly, and that's going to be really important. And that goes back to that panic, calm, preparedness graph that I just tried to show you here, but it's coming up mirrored. So again, if you just kind of visualize this with me, that on a sheet of paper, at the top of the sheet of paper, you write panic, okay? At the bottom of the paper, you write calm. And then you can put a line between the two of those. On the left side, you're going to write unprepared, and on the right side, you will write prepared. And what's really been interesting is as this has progressed, right? I'm not a big news watcher, right? And so I was not in kind of the immediately forefront. I knew it was coming. My son had a trip scheduled. We kind of knew what was going on. So the school was canceling trips. We were aware. But I would say that we were for a while in that position of being a little unprepared and a little maybe too calm. But this is all relative. Where you end up on this scale in terms of panic or calm or prepared or unprepared, that's all relative to what it is you know. And this is what's critical, is that people do the best with what they know at the time. All right? And to know and not to do is not to know. All right, so that's really important to understand. To know and not to do is not to know. So like all the kids that are on spring break in Florida right now, and they're totally not doing the social distancing thing. If anything, they're doing the opposite with total strangers. But the point is that they're doing the best with what they know. If they knew better, they would do better. All right, so I want you to kind of consider that. But we can't judge others by what it is they're doing. And I think what we need to understand is that we're going to do the best with what we know, and that's all based on our inputs. Okay, so right now, if you are stressed out, and Donna Bell just wrote this really cool comment on here, and I'm going to try to open it if I can, if it'll open. That's a big long post, Donna. Sorry, can't read all that, but. What's the gift that Donna writes, what is the gift that is being given through this virus? And that is exactly the way I like to think, Donna. So a lot of good things to write. She's writing about cleaning, and it's going to open up. I agree. Like we're going to be now in tune to kids going to school from home and, buying more things online and traveling and keeping clean. And it's going to be really interesting. So let me just get back to, got me a little off topic there, Donna. But the ideal is to control your inputs. If you're feeling stressed out about this, I think it's really important to understand that statistics, all right, and we're all being flooded with statistics right now. Statistics are not, they don't apply to individuals, they apply to averages, okay? That's really important to understand. Now, an individual may fall in line with a statistic, but statistics do not apply to an individual, they apply to averages. And what I find really interesting is people will find themselves, they'll view themselves as above average in certain things, but when the shit hits the fan, all of a sudden they're below average. Like they're of below average health, they're below average preparedness. And then what happens is that their panic goes up, and they freak out about certain things. And that's not necessarily necessary. Not, what people who don't know will look at statistics and make it a blanket statement. Now, we need to be aware of certain things. We're now all aware of the fact that we all need to be aware of certain things, right? We've all become educated on things that we didn't know. We didn't know up until now, right? Or didn't take care as much care about something. But if you find that watching the news is getting you stressed out because you're seeing all these statistics, it's important to kind of just realize that statistics do apply to averages. They don't apply to individuals, and where you see yourself in that spectrum is really, really important. Okay. The news and viruses, like, this was never meant to be read like a scoreboard from a game, like a box score at a game, right? Time is ticking down and goals are being scored and penalties are being created and things like that. That's not the way this is supposed to be viewed. So one of the things that I adhere to is just kind of checking into news maybe once, twice a day. That's really enough. If something bad really happens, you're going to find out about it. We are just in this stream of news right now, which may or may not be helpful for you. And when you get to a certain point of preparedness on that scale, any more news makes you either feel like you're unprepared or makes you overprepared. So I like this idea that people who are overprepared and panicked, that's that dickhead who bought like the 18,000 vials of hand sanitizer and was trying to sell it on Amazon, right? That's somebody who's hoarding like that. They're in that category. And it's really, when you're over prepared, you get to a certain point of preparedness, and anything else above that is really, it's diminishing returns. But people will say, like, well, how do you know if you're prepared in uncertain times? You have to do the best with what you know. And that is going to be your level of preparedness, right? Comparing yourself to somebody else. Like if you go to the grocery store and go to the magazine rack and you buy a Doomsday Prepper magazine, you're going to feel pretty unprepared. But living in a state of panic and living in a state of where if you feel like you're constantly not prepared, it's not a very healthy state to be in. And what people would argue is that level of stress actually limits your immune system, which makes you more susceptible to the thing you're trying to avoid in the first place, right? So that's really important to understand as well, is that if you get too far in the panic mode, your body is starting to basically flood your cells neurochemically with all these hormones, these neurochemicals that aren't really going to help you, and they can actually hurt you in the long run. So take a little bit of a break from the outside inputs, like the news, like your social media feed, and that you'll find that your level of stress will go down. And then that leads me to this next state, which is actually your social media feed. The social media algorithm, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, like your social media algorithm is designed to give you more of what you like. All right. That's the goal of all of the social media feeds, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or it's Twitter. It's all designed to give you more of what you already like. So if your friend posted a link to an article that was negative or fear driven, and you liked that or you loved it, you're going to get more of it. You're actually signaling to your social media feed that you like that, you want more of that. So at the next go around, when more content is being fed in your feed, the algorithm is deciding, she liked that post about people over the age of 50 dying of coronavirus, and she's 50. So we're going to give her the next article on that and give her more of that. You're just going down this negative spiral, right? So what's really, if you want to kind of change your social media feed, one of the best ways to do it is to snooze anybody who is posting really negative, disruptive stuff. And you can snooze them for 30 days and then they'll pop up in your feed in 30 days, or you can block them altogether. But snooze is a good place to start. The other thing is that you can find something, an article, a person, and whether maybe it's this video, you can share this video or like it or love it or heart it, things like that. Then the algorithm is going to give you more of this type of stuff, right? And that's going to immediately start to change your feeds, your social media feed. So you may turn on the news, and the news is going to be nothing but negative, right? The news is going to be nothing about how unprepared we are, how panicked people are, how people are stockpiling toilet paper, how people are making up their own hand sanitizer using, like, I don't know, stuff in their backyard. Who knows, right? But if you click on those things and like it, you're going to get more of it, right? So we want to stay away from that, and then basically look for the positive of these things, because if you are panicked in an uncertain time, your brain is not going to help you find certainty. It's just going to give you more uncertainty. It's going to be the devil's advocate. It's going to fill you with doubt when there might not be any need for doubt, right? So you can strategically use your social media feeds in a way to give you more of what will help you, right? Or you can allow it to give you more of what will cause you more stress, and then actually get you more susceptible to viruses and things like that, or the common cold. An interesting thing, if you've got kids in your house, okay, is that your mood is going to affect not just you, how you deal with the information of the day, but it's also going to deal with how your kids deal with the information of the day. For a lot of my families right now, they have kids in the house, and for me, I'm keeping the news to a minimum. I know what I need to know. I'm taking the precautions I need to take. I'm prepared as much as I need to be prepared with what I know. And after that, I can't do anything else. Now, my son is getting bombarded with all his friends from school who are seeing, videos and posts and all sorts of stuff. And it's been a bit of like self-defense mechanism, right? Like, it's like, okay, listen, he was coming in every 15 minutes telling me like, oh, this school closed, and oh, that ski hill's closed, and oh, this many people died. And I was like, hey, dude, listen, let's reconvene at the end of the day and you can fill me in on what's going on, right? And sure enough, when I shared that attitude with him, he was almost less interested, because we're doing what we can. We're at home, we're sheltering in place, we're washing our hands, we're working out at home, all those things, we're doing that. But anything outside of that, it's other people's fears and panic and concerns. And we had to kind of regulate, we kind of had to bring that down a little bit, right? He also started following people on Instagram that were just doing more positive stuff. And then we were sharing the positive stuff we were seeing on Instagram and the positive stuff we're seeing on TikTok. The news will tell you everybody who's died of the coronavirus. They'll never tell you about who's healing, who's overcoming the virus. And that's really interesting. Like, if you go to the Johns Hopkins website and you search for it, just search for Johns Hopkins coronavirus, it shows you some cool graphics of, yes, there are people who are dying. It is not telling you who of those people who has died, right? Like I said at the very beginning of this, statistics rarely they don't relate to individuals, they relate to averages, right? So just because 1, 2, 10, 1,000 people have died, it's like, let's look beyond the statistic and find out, like, okay, how deep can we go so that we can get some certainty out of that statistic that's making us feel uncertain, right? So certainty is having certainty in a situation. This is what I tell all my athletes, right? So when an athlete is going into a competition, there's a level of understanding of what's about to happen. So when an athlete is struggling with a track, with a venue, with a a hill, with a team, like whatever, they have a basic lack of understanding of their competitor. And this is really interesting to kind of understand, is that right now, all of our competitors is this coronavirus. And so your job is to get as much understanding as you can to basically defend yourself against the competitor, avoid it altogether. And right now we're all avoiding it as much as we can, right? So there's avoidance of the competitor, but avoidance is not a long-term defense, because if your competitor has more energy than you do, eventually your competitor catches up. So avoidance is not a sustainable tactic, right? So because at a certain point in time, you're going to come face to face with your competitor. So for instance, every year we come into contact with viruses. We come into contact with colds and bugs. And now this coronavirus is a new competitor, right? It's a new thing we're up against. So we can avoid it, but also we can take actions to boost our own immune system, our own self-defense, so that virus doesn't have power over us. And there's a lot of people right now who are walking around thinking that the moment that virus comes in contact with them, they're getting sick. And that's just not true, because our body has an ability to heal. Our body has an ability to defend itself against viruses and bugs and things like that. And that's a level of understanding that now, just like I tell my athletes, is like, all right, if you're not having much luck against this competitor, you can avoid it, but you can also boost yourself up as much as you can to then overcome it, and to withstand that challenge that it's creating. And that's what's really important. I want to share with you today is that we're not all, just because you're over 80 years old means that if you get the virus, you're going to die. It's not true, right? So digging within the statistics is something that's going to help you understand and give you more certainty. Now, the thing that I tell all my athletes, though, is that within every competition, there is a level of uncertainty. There is a level of what you can't plan for. There's, like every football team that goes into the Super Bowl, they've dug down to their competition, as they've watched every game tape they possibly can. They've done all sorts of research to figure out the other team's coaches and their tendencies and where everybody's going to run, and on this play, in this situation, this is the play they're going to go, and this is the plays we're going to do. And what happens is, even with all that planning, there's a portion of the game that you can't plan for. And that is the time when you have to have some sort of faith in your own ability, and also in things that you just can't control. You have to have some faith and understanding that in an uncertain situation, you have gone through other situations where you have survived, and you have not just survived, but thrived and won. And that's where having confidence, this comes down a little bit to confidence, is you look back on all past experiences where you've had good situations, and you've overcome things, and you've won, and you can create a little bit of a internal database of like, you know what? Yeah, there was this time when this happened, and we were able to overcome it then. And you then look to that, right? Because you do the best with what you know. You prepare yourself against your competitor as best you can. But then, even when there's that last bit of uncertainty, you have to have some sort of faith that, given the situation, you're still going to have the wherewithal, the ability, the understanding to get through, right? And that's where the tiered approach to understanding, to dealing with uncertain times, right? So just to recap today, if you're joining me late and you're hearing the end of this and you missed the beginning, let me just recap this real quick, right? Go to bed and start your day with some sort of intention on how you want the day to go. Are you going to be panicked, or are you going to be calm, or are you going to be somewhere in the middle? How are you going to act? How are you going to feel? Are you going to be prepared or unprepared? Is there something you need to go out? And this is why people grab the toilet paper. Oh, and I didn't share that. People are wondering why people ran out like crazy and bought toilet paper. And the reason being, and I did some research on this and I talked to some psychologists on this, is that toilet paper is something that at our base level, we all feel like no matter how bad the day goes, if we can wipe our butts and keep our butts clean, we've got some control over this. I remember the comedian John Pinette, who died a few years ago, told a great joke. He said, no matter how bad my life was, no matter how much money I was making, no matter how poor I was, I still bought nice toilet paper. And it's really funny because I laughed when I heard that joke recently, because it's really something people grasp to. And so the reason why people rushed on toilet paper is because it was a bulk purchase. It was something that if they bought it, they were going to have it for a while. And it was something that also they realized that, no matter how bad this gets, their butts are going to be clean. And that means a lot to us as a society. Now, could we all use a Kleenex? Yes. Could we all get in the shower? Yes. Could we all, jump in the pool or the water? Or I don't know. Yes. But did people forget all that? Hell yeah. They just went and panicked buy. And then when a certain group of people starts to buy, then everybody starts to buy, right? I happened to be in the grocery store one day. I was just shopping, and a pallet of toilet paper arrived. And I asked the guy, I'm like, what's the deal with the toilet paper? He goes, well, everybody just cleared us out. This is the one pallet we have in the back. He goes, I'm not sure when our next shipment's going, so you might want to pick one up. So I picked one up. But it's funny because I felt like I had to apologize to everybody when I got to the checkout counter. I'm like, I'm not one of those people panic buying. I'm just buying. And it was just a normal purchase, right? It was like a 12-pack or however they come, right? Family of 4 was normal. But that's why people jumped on the panic, is that they were trying to be over-prepared and they were panicking, right? So it's really important to understand. And yes, my mom, the good old mom, just wrote, it's the same thing in a blizzard. Same thing happens in a blizzard. People buy the staples, right? Because the next thing that went was pasta sauce, then it was eggs, and it was flour up where I live. Everything else has been pretty good. Jeff Shire writes, oh man, if I ever get a pool, you're not coming near it. Jeff, no, you should say if you ever get a pool and there's a virus happening, then I'm coming to your pool to clean my butt. But just saying, okay. But so start your day with an intention. All right. How do you want to be today? How do you want to act? How do you want to feel? All right. Understand the panic, calm, preparedness graph that I drew before, right? So at the top there's panic, at the bottom there's calm, to the left there's unprepared, to the right there's prepared. You're going to sit somewhere on there based on what you know, all right? So the knowledge part comes, if you feel panicked, you can basically get more information to help you get to a state of where you're more calm. And that's going to control. So here's the first one, is that the news is only going to share with you the negative statistics. Dig deeper and find the positive statistics within those statistics, right? So it doesn't make any sense to talk about who's infected and who's died if you don't talk about who's overcome the virus and what ages or what types of people have died. Right. So like when the first person died in New York, and then it came out they were like 82 years old and they had all these underlying health conditions. Well, if 82 and have underlying health conditions, you're probably going to be okay, or at least be better than that person was. So your level of panic can kind of come down. So if you find yourself getting stressed out, understand you might need to take a little bit of a break from the inputs around you, or you can improve the inputs. And the easiest ones you can improve are your social media feed. So find articles that are positive about people who've overcome the virus, people who've overcome, who've gotten healthy. I saw this beautiful video the other day that was basically it came out of China, but it was this dude in Italy who did a vlog about what it was like to live in Italy right now. And the canals are clean, and he's going to the grocery store, and he's getting his food. And this guy was like probably in his 70s. And I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of cool to see. Not everybody because right now the news makes you think like everybody in Italy is going to drop dead in a minute, right? That's not cool. So find stuff on your social media feed that's positive and like it, click it, like give it a heart, give it a like. Then because the algorithm is going to give you more of that, right? And then overall, what that should do is change your mood. If you're hyper stressed out right now, your kids are going to be stressed out, right? Your family's going to be stressed out. But if you can start the day and bring it down a little bit, you're going to realize that this too shall pass. We're not sure how or when or how it's going to work, right? But we've got to have a little bit of faith that even in uncertain time, we've got the ability to get through it. Okay. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this helped. Do me a favor, share this with somebody who needs to hear it, with your kids, with your teachers, with your parents, with your coaches. And by all means, let's stay positive through all this, because if you're stressed out and negative, your immune system is gonna get weaker, which makes you more susceptible to all this stuff. So stay positive, stay strong, and if I can help you, like I'm helping all my athletes right now, reach out to me, Coach Edwards at athletespecific.com. All right, everybody, take care. See you soon.